requesting all legislators to join us in the chambers so we can start our committees. All right, we're going to start our meetings, and to lead things off, we'll have Legislator Rose Walker leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise. Yes, we did this yesterday, but let's do it again. If you'd all please rise for a moment. Again, it's a moment of silence for the nation of Israel, the Israeli people, and all the families who live here in the United States for the terrorist attack over the weekend and that unfolding tragedy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to read the roll call for the Rules Committee. Legislator Sheila Bino. Legislator Delia DeRuggi-Whitten. Ranking Member Kavan Abrahams. Legislator Laura Schaefer. Legislator John Giuffre. Vice Chairman Howard Coppell. Chairman Richard Nicolello.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
All right, thank you. As we always do, we start off with the contracts that are before the Rules Committee. I think we need to start off with a motion to suspend the rules. Motion by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell, seconded Minority Leader Abrahams. All in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The rules are suspended. The contracts that we're going to call in bulk include these: A24, A31 of 2023. These are resolutions authorizing the Commission of Shared Services to award and execute a purchase order between the county and Hendrickson Fleet Service. Mike's on, Mike. Cogsdale Corporation, B-28 of 2023, a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a contract between the county and Banker Construction Corp., E-113, E-115, E-116, E-118. These are resolutions authorizing the county executive to execute personal services agreements or amendments to personal services agreements between the county and Maximus Associates, KS Engineering, BRNT Consulting, and Journal Technologies. E-119 is a resolution making certain determinations pursuant to sorry about that. E-119 is a resolution making certain determinations pursuant to the State Environmental Review Act and authorizing the county executive to execute a permit agreement between the County of Nassau and T20 World Cup USA. Motion by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell, seconded by Minority Leader Abrahams. There's one other thing before we get to the contracts themselves. Need a motion to untable B-17. It's a resolution authorizing the county executive to award and execute a contract between the County of Nassau and D.F. Stone. Contracting motion by Legislator Bino, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. All in favor of untabling, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. So that's on table. The first contract is with the police department. That's A24. It's a contract with Hendrickson Fleet Service, Inc.
Good afternoon, Deputy Inspector Murphy, Nassau County Police. This item is A2423. It's to authorize an award for Hamatro extrication tools. All right. These battery-operated extrication tools will be used for emergency service units for gaining access to victims who become trapped in vehicles as a result of automobile accidents. Maximum amount for this would be $499,062, and this is all asset funded.
Okay, asset forfeiture.
Asset forfeiture funded,
Yeah.
correct.
Any questions? No? Thank you, Inspector.
Thank you.
Next one is with IT, A31, the Cogsdale Corporation.
Good afternoon, Joe Giacovino, Deputy Commissioner, Information Technology. Cogsdale Corporation, A3123 is to authorize and award a purchase order for Informatica Data Management Cloud Annual Subscription and upgrades for Informatica and Cognos software to bring them current and supported versions. These products support the Financial Systems Data Warehouse and are used by controllers and other departments in the county. Nassau County IT will manage the upgrades, confirm data security, and move to the cloud. This is a sole source purchase. Cogsdale owns the software and is the sole supplier of the software. Only Cogsdale can provide upgrades and product support. The term of the agreement is contingent upon the issuance of the CO and the acceptance from the vendor. The total cost is $334,900.80.
Okay. Any questions on this one? No. All right, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
We have now two with Parks Department. First is E-113. It's a contract with Maximus Associates Security.
Good afternoon, Darcy Bellier, Parks Commissioner. Presenting an amendment to the service agreement between Nassau County and Maximus Associates Security Services, Inc. This body approved the original agreement last year, effective August 1st, 2022, with an end term date of July 31st, 2027. The amendment seeks to increase the maximum amount to be paid to the contractor from $40,000 per year to $80,000 per year in years 2 through 5 of the agreements only, including any renewals. So the maximum amount of this contract over the full term would not exceed $540,000. The reason for the increase is to accommodate the need for security at Parks Department events and programs under the direct supervision of our public safety detail team directed out of the 3rd Precinct.
Any questions on Maximus? Nope, I think we'll go right into the T20 World Cup. Bless you.
Okay, I just want to add for item E11923, joining us in the audience today are some gentlemen that we've been working with. If I could just point them out to your attention. Don Lockerbie, who's the Venue Development Director for the T20 World Cup. Daniel White is a consultant for the ICC, the International Cricket Council. And also who I just met is Fawad Baksh, who is the Tournament Director of the World Cup, who is a Nassau County resident, lives in New Hyde Park. So they're here with us today.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
I am presenting, and very excitedly presenting to all of you, a use and occupancy permit between Nassau County and T20 World Cup USA, Inc. As we know, use and occupancy permits don't normally need to come before you, but I'm pleased to present this item today as it is not only historic, but it will produce a revenue in excess of $25,000. The purpose of the agreement is to allow T20 World Cup USA to construct a temporary 34,000-seat modular stadium on 19 acres of Eisenhower Park in Field 6. For your reference, that is the property to the left of the driveway when you pull in to attend a Lakeside Theater event. This stadium will be constructed for the purpose of hosting 5 or 6 matches for the 2024 International Cricket Council, ICC's Men's T20 World Cup tournament. The vendor will be responsible for all costs. Nassau County was chosen as one of 3 venues in the United States to host these matches, which will be played in the United States for the first time ever. These matches will be broadcast to over 1.3 billion fans, billion, not million, around the globe, putting Nassau County on the map for the sport of cricket. Cricket in the World Cup matches are the 3rd most watched sporting event in broadcast history, surpassed only by the Summer Olympic Games and FIFA World Cup Soccer. A SECRA was completed for a temporary stadium on park property. The term of this permit will be from the execution date through July 31st, 2024. The permit will generate a guaranteed revenue of $125,000 per match day to cover expenses for public safety and parks maintenance. Anticipated revenue above and beyond that $125,000 per match is approximately $2 million, as the county will receive net revenue for all event parking, as well as all revenue for general and hospitality catering for each match. Additionally, the county could recognize an economic impact in excess of $150 million in tourism for those that will travel here for the matches from around the globe. Following the event, the stadium will be deconstructed, as stated in the permit, no later than July 31st, 2024, and the county, in return, will receive 3 cricket pitches, world class, 2 at Eisenhower and 1 to be constructed at Eisenhower Park. Those pitches will be used in advance and during the tournament for practices by those teams. And those will be used going forward for us to permit out, and there is a great demand through my office since I've been working for the county for us to build new cricket fields. So I'm pleased to bring this item before you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have some, and I'm sure the members of the committee will also have others. The irrigation system that is being installed, will that remain after the temporary stadium leaves?
Yes, it will.
Okay. And while the temporary stadium is there and these events are going on, the other organizations who have been using those fields, the area where the stadium is, will the Parks Department accommodate them and provide them other space?
Yes, so part of the process in working with T20 was to make sure that there would be no disruption to the current use of the park, and we are able, that's a low-use rental area, so we are able to relocate them either within the park or to other facilities.
When do you expect the construction to take place?
By mid-January, you would start seeing some work taking place in the park.
How long do you expect the construction phase?
They hope to be ready to do a few practice run matches by mid-May.
Okay. So there'll be some construction activity for that length of time between mid-January to mid-May?
Yeah, so the first that goes on is the construction of the modular stadium, And then the actual cricket pitch is going to be natural grass, so the irrigation work will be done simultaneously to that construction, and then they'll seek to grow the grass.
Is there a requirement that T20 provide insurance to the county?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know the extent of that requirement?
Yes, they have done that. And I would need to call up for an assist from Rich Solomanzada, who's been working with them and our consultant to give you more details on the insurance.
Okay.
And Tom Montefinis.
Good afternoon, legislators. Richard Solomanzada for the County Attorney's Office. There is insurance requirements in the use permit of approximately $25 million.
Okay. And how will that be verified?
Like with any other vendor, they have to provide a certificate of insurance before any construction can be taken.
Will the county be named as an additional insurer?
100%.
All right. My suggestion is to get the policies themselves, because sometimes the certificates actually don't mean much. They're just issued for informational purposes. So I would get the policies themselves and make sure that no exclusions that just would make the coverage illusory.
100%. We actually put an exhibit to the agreement,
Right.
which details a lot of the exclusions that are not acceptable to the county, and the T20's experts are in agreement with that,
All right, but I would verify that that's the case when the policy actually comes through.
without a doubt.
And you think 25 million is sufficient?
Yes, the county believes that that's in the best interest of the county.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate the answers. Why don't we go back to Darcy for a moment? Just a question: does the construction? Do we get the construction contracts back to us? I mean, in other words, what's wrong? Do we get the construction contracts for approval here, or is T20 be doing the construction?
Subcontractors of T20, but they will also provide insurance to Nassau County. That's part of the agreement.
I think that's important as well.
Yes.
All right. All right. Deputy Presiding Officer Copel.
So, how many practice and full matches do you anticipate?
We're anticipating, and we'll know the full World Cup match schedule by late November. We're anticipating 5 or 6 World Cup matches over a 10-day period, June 4th to 13th. And just so we can make sure that people know what to do in their roles of ticket takers and concessions and such, we're looking to use our local community cricket players to do some practice matches there in advance, probably 2 or 3.
Right, and so I'm sorry. So the practice matches are not going to be for the contestants, the actual contestants.
No,
Okay.
no.
And you anticipate publicizing this widely?
I'm sorry?
Do you anticipate publicizing the events?
Yes, I'm sure T20 will
T20
as well,
do
of
that.
course.
What kind of ticket prices do you expect?
I'm not privy to that information just yet. I know that there is going to be general seating as well as VIP options.
Okay.
And then I didn't mention also that all parking is going to be off-site of the park, except probably for some VIP parking.
Off-site, how do people get there?
There were shuttles.
There'll be shuttle buses. And where would they park?
We're looking to use Nassau Coliseum property, our Museum Row property, if it doesn't affect the operation of the museums, and Mitchell Athletic Complex, as well as the college.
I've never seen one of these matches. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. Thank you.
I know Legislator Schaefer had a question.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. How are you? I just have a quick question. You mentioned something about some reimbursement. I think you said $125,000.
Right.
Right. So I have it broken down in my notes, just about $100,000 for on-call and on-duty NCPD, fire, medical, and other emergency personnel, and then $25,000 or up to $25,000 for Department of Public Works personnel expenses, things like
And
that.
parks, for maintenance of the exterior. T20 is going to hire their own interior maintenance and security, but they're
Okay.
going to work in concert with our services.
Okay. Do we anticipate that that will cover what we need? Is it going to only cover a portion of what we need? Like, what are we thinking?
I do believe it will cover the expenses, but again, until this is passed, we've just done some preliminary fact-finding and had some meetings just to make sure that all the services are on board and that we could provide what was needed. But we do believe, and also I should mention also, the matches are going to be during the day. So that will also help with our our team, our employees are already working as well during the day anyway.
Okay, so you'll just be assigning some of them to
Exactly.
the games. Okay. And is there, just thinking if, once you move forward, and is there a chance that there's going to be a need for much more personnel than we anticipate, or is this based on, some
So we
valid
had
evidence?
2 preliminary meetings, both internal and with the T20 and ICC team over the last month. And obviously, we're going to have to plan more specifically. But the overall view, it was suggested that the $100,000 for the public safety would cover it, and certainly parks for the maintenance with Public Works, $25,000 should cover our expenses.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Darcy.
Thank you.
2 with the District Attorney's Office follow, 1 E116 with BRNT Consulting LLC.
Good afternoon, Presiding Officer, Legislators. Dennis McDermott, Assistant District Attorney. E11623 is an amendment to a contract with BRNT, where BRNT provides software support, more or less enhanced support for our current case management system, JustWare. The reason for the contract itself was that in 2020, Journal Technologies, which is the next contract, declared JustWare at end of life and no longer provided upgrades or enhanced support. And BRNT were the key personnel in the implementation of JustWare to begin with. The reason for the amendment is that the go-live date for eProsecutor, which is the next contract, is estimated to be about 3 years from the start date. And in order for us to continue using JustWare, we need BRNT, whose final services would be assisting in the migration of all the data from JustWare into any case management system that was chosen. It happens to have been eProsecutor. And with this, it's a 3-year extension with 1 2-year option. We've increased the maximum amount that can be paid by $120,000, $40,000 each year, and increased his hourly rate to $80 an hour.
So you indicated that it would take 3 years before eProsecutor
Is go live.
go live.
Yes.
That's-
As a matter of fact, our IT thinks it could be 2.5 because we're upgrading really from JustWare, which is Journal Technologies, to eProsecutor, which is also the proprietary software.
So it would be, that time period would start now if we approve these contracts.
Correct. Well, I assume once it's signed, yes,
Right.
it would be
Oh,
3
it's
years
signed.
from now.
Okay. Just generally, what would eProsecutor do, and how is it used by how will it be used by the office?
Well, it is similar, but it interfaces with the NICE document management system that's employed by the police and us, the Office of Court Administration. The police also use Premier One, which is computer-enhanced assistance for dispatchers, 911 operators, et cetera. And it takes all of that information, including that comes from other police things. It incorporates everything. It is a calendar. It assists with discovery. It sends discovery out. It does reminders. Every other software program that we use really is a support for what will be eProsecutor, which is the next case.
Okay, so one of the features will be it'll assist in terms of the discovery requirements.
Correct. That the JustWare has been fine, but again, it's now 10 years old in technology, and which was done before the new discovery laws, and this will assist in that. We enhance security. It's a web-based, cloud-oriented system now, so it will enhance everything that we do.
Do you feel confident over the next 3 years to continue using JustWare for that length of time until eProsecutor is ready
We
to
are.
go?
Well, I should say IT is.
Okay, all right. Is there any way that you can expedite the 3 years seems like a long lead
It
period.
is
Yeah.
in the research that was done. Most DA's offices, especially in California, it seemed to take at least 3 years, but they were migrating from other systems, not from the Journal Technology system. Where RIT hopes it's about 2 years, because it's very data-driven, and there are a lot of tests and retests that have to be done, and each one of those take time.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions on these two contracts? You basically have covered both, I think. No? All right, thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. And if I may, Legislator Abrams, Presiding Officer, Legislator Schaefer, I will likely not be presenting for rules until you're gone, so I'd like to thank you for your service.
No, thank you very much.
And wish you the best.
Thank you. Okay, next three contracts are with Public Works, starting with B17 with DF Stone Contracting.
Okay, good afternoon, Ken Arnold, Public Works. I'll start with B28 as a contract amendment for Banker Construction Corp. This amendment adds funding to the contract associated with the services that the firm provided for the Lido Beach sinkhole. The amendment also includes additional time and extension of 1 year for its water main work that the contract is currently written for. Have any questions on that?
So this is not just a sinkhole?
No.
Right, okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, so we worked, our current water main contract that we utilize is expired. This is going to give us a year extension while we bid a new contract.
Any questions? Sure, Legislator Ridgeway.
How is your sinkhole, Ken?
Which one?
The one, well, let's start with the one in Lido.
Lido is it's fixed. Grand Avenue is fixed. We have one currently from the storm last Friday in Hewlett that we're working on, and we have a drainage issue in Elmont that we're working on.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay,
Ken, there are a couple more, right? There's another one on Grand Avenue and one on Brookside that have plates over them right now.
I know there's one on Brookside that we've had, that's being worked on, if not this week, next week.
Okay.
That's been in the planning for a couple months to get that set up. The other one I think is a catch basin issue on Grand, which
By Stanton?
I think that's a minor thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have those all the time, catch basin issues, yes.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Ken. Let's go to the next one.
So E115 is a design construction contract for the rehabilitation of the bridge on Hempstead Avenue over Pines Brook in West Hempstead. 7 firms responded, and the technical review committee determined that KSE, having one of the highest technically ranking scores and a good value, was chosen for the work. KSE is also a MBE firm, and they're bringing on a WBE for 6% of the work also. So 95% of the work will be done by MWBEs.
Oh, great. That's good. Yeah, no. we won't get credit for that.
Last time she wasn't here either.
We may call you back up later on.
Okay. And the last contract is B17, which is the untabled contract with
Yes.
DF Stone.
I thought that was, yes, you're right, you're correct.
Okay. So this is a requirements contract associated with our response for drainage emergencies that are either or not planned work or too small work that we wouldn't bid separately. DF Stone was the lowest responsible bidder and is the primary contractor for this work. If you remember, we had issued a contract to Pratt as a secondary contractor a couple of months ago. DF Stone took a little bit longer because of some disclosure issues we had to resolve. In total, we had 3 firms bid on this contract, so we awarded to DF Stone and Pratt. The MWBE proposed for this right now is at 6%, but that will change as work is assigned to them, because right now they don't know all the different tasks that they may be asked to do.
Okay. All righty. Any questions on this one? Nope. All right, thanks, Ken. I think that's it for you, right? So I'm going to call these contracts for a vote at this time. A24, A31, E113, E119, E116, E118, B17, B28, E-115. Any further debate or discussion among the legislators? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? They carry unanimously, and Rules Committee will go into recess. Public safety is next. Thank you.
The Public Safety Committee will be meeting. There, I want to members gather for the Public Safety Committee meeting, please. Ask the clerk to please hold the roll.
Thank you, Mr. McKevitt. Roll call, Public Safety Committee. Legislator Debbie Muley. Ms. Muley. Okay. Legislator Sheila Bino. We're going to wait a minute or two.
Members of the Public Safety Committee, please come to the podium. It's going to be a lot of fun, I promise. Don't want to miss it.
Deborah and Sheila.
All right, Mr. Clerk, we're going to try that again. I think we'll do a mulligan. We'll start from the beginning again. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ready, ladies? Okay. Public Safety Committee roll call. Legislator Debbie Muley. Legislator Sheila Bino. Yes, you have. Ranking Member Delia DeRigi-Whitten. Legislator John Ferretti. Sitting in today is Legislator John Giuffre, Legislator Mazi Palip, and Vice Chairman Thomas McKevitt.
Here we have a quorum.
Thank you, sir.
So we have 3 items. The first will be item 298-23, resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a grant agreement between the County of Nassau, acting on behalf of the Nassau County District Attorney, and the New York State Office of Victim Services. We have moved by Legislator DeRigi-Whitten, second by Legislator Ferretti.
Good afternoon, legislators. Dennis McDermott, Assistant District Attorney. This is a grant agreement it's really a resolution accepting the grant. That normally, when we receive grants, we only bring it to the ledge when the state requires it. Now, this is actually the middle year of a 3-year grant. Last year, they did not require approval. This year, they want approval for all 3. It is coming for the victim services. It basically supports or funds at least 21 crime victim advocates who serve victims in it, and it averages approximately $1.355 million a year.
Are these current employed victim advocates, or are these new hires?
No, these are now current.
Okay.
Now, yeah, when the first one was done before this 3-year grant, most of them were hired because of this.
Okay. Any other questions among the legislators? Okay. If not, we'll go on to discuss our next item, which will be 303-23, an ordinance supplemental, the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with District Attorney. Moved by Legislator Pilip and seconded by Legislator Bino.
This is a supplemental appropriation request of $2,572,489 from the District Attorney Aid to Prosecution Program. It's a fairly large increase from previous, and it's used basically to fund the prosecution, the ADAs, support staff of those charged with violent felony offenses. There's a list you can work down to pretty much even regular county court felonies we can use that money for, but it is a large increase, and it's for 1 year.
Okay. Any questions from the legislators? Okay. If not, our next matter is clerk item 306-23, an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation in connection with the Nassau County Police Department. So moved by Legislator Dufresne and seconded by Legislator Millet.
Good afternoon, Deputy Inspector Murphy, Police Department. First item I have is for the Police Department, request the supplemental appropriation of $50,000 from the New York State Office of Homeland Security. This is for the 2023 Operation Gateway contract. This program is designed to provide the NCPD Marine Bureau to enhance border and water security. The intent is to curtail illegal activity by executing a multifaceted enforcement action, arresting offenders, and seizing contraband. The action is to disrupt and deter criminal activity. Funding of $39,630 will be used for overtime, and $10,370 will be used for fringe benefits. This grant does not require a match. Any questions?
Any questions from any of the legislators?
Okay. Next one. Police Department requests a supplemental appropriation for $172,500 from the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. This program is designed to provide funding for participation in the Buckle Up Seatbelt Enforcement Initiative and aggressive driving campaigns. This program will allow Nassau County to be reimbursed for overtime in the amount of $172,500 $500. This grant does not require any funding match.
Any questions from the legislators? Legislator Dufresne.
That's because I don't use it that often.
Sir?
Sure, Deputy Inspector. For the 50,000 grant, I was going to ask you, what can you get for 50,000? But you answered it. You're going to do overtime, 39,000 in overtime, 10,000 in fringe benefits. But for the 172,000, it's all overtime, and there's no breakdown between time and fringe.
No, it's all in overtime.
Okay.
No fringe.
All right. Yeah, aggressive driving. I would love to see some people get pulled over who are like running some of us off the road, so to speak.
That and seatbelt enforcement saves lives.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Thank you. You answered my question.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Legislator Reggie Whitten.
I'm sorry.
Can you get pulled over if you don't have your seatbelt on, or does there have to be another violation included with
No,
that?
an observation of seatbelt is required by New York State law.
So if someone does not have their seatbelt on, that's reason enough to be pulled over?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that. All right.
Yes.
Legislator Ferretti.
How you doing? Just one quick question.
Sure.
New York state law is now rear seatbelts are required for all ages, correct?
Correct.
We're enforcing that as well?
Sure.
Okay. Are we doing any outreach to let people know about that? Or can we, if we're not?
We could, but there should be some education part of it also.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I heard that. I wasn't exactly sure if it was in effect yet, but I know if I didn't know, then a lot of people probably don't know. But
Well, you see the click it or ticket campaigns they put on, right?
Yeah.
Commercials, the click it and ticket.
okay,
So,
thank you.
okay. Last one?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. All right, so my last one is, I apologize, back up. Police Department is requesting supplemental appropriation in the sum of $65,000 from the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. This program is designed to provide funding of $65,000 to the department to reduce the number of pedestrian injuries and deaths involved in motor vehicles occurring in New York State. The funding of $65,000 will be set aside for overtime. There is no required matching for this funding.
Any questions from the legislators? Okay, hearing none.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any public comment on the three items that we've discussed today? If there's not, our first vote will be on.
Yes, good afternoon, Mita J. Meriday. Just had a question with regard to the last one about the traffic safety, because it said it was addressing pedestrian I guess accidents, fatalities, but it just spoke about, I think, a salaried item, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just trying to understand what programmatic aspects does this, or if this is not tied to that, where's the budget line to address the actual pedestrian accidents, fatalities, particularly where we are in Baldwin, because we definitely need a traffic study. We've addressed issues with Legislator Dridgy Whitten when they had a crossing guard that had a very severe accidental issue. We still have police officers that are patrolling these streets as crossing guards, so this traffic safety issue is something that's significant. So I don't know if this is enough money or if we're doing enough about it, because again, we try to protect our children, you know, and our seniors, our police officers, and our crossing guards. So just had a question about that particular item. If it's just for like a salary in addition to a program, that I would really like to see that program or some report on that overall program for that. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, if not, the first item we'll vote on is 298-23. All in favor say aye. All against say nay. Passes unanimously. Next is 303-23. All in favor please say aye. All against say nay. Passes unanimously. Last item is 306-23. All in favor say aye. Any against? Passes unanimously. Make a motion to adjourn. Moved by Legislator Dufresne, seconded by Legislator Dridgy Whitten. All in favor? Aye. All against? Passes. Good afternoon. Planning is next. Next is the Planning Committee.
I'd like to call the Planning, Development, and Environmental Committee to order. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Legislator Arnold Drucker. Arnold is not here. Thank you. Absent. Legislator Sheila Bino. Ranking Member Kelly A. Solage.
Here.
Legislator Rose Walker. Legislator John Giuffre. Vice Chairman Thomas McKevitt. Chairwoman Laura Schaefer.
Here.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, there's one item on the agenda today. It's clerk item number 297-23. This is an ordinance making certain determinations pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and authorizing the County Executive of the County of Nassau to accept on behalf of the County of Nassau an offer of purchase from Catherine Comiso of certain premises located in Bethpage, County of Nassau, State of New York. Said property known as Section 49, Block Lot 433 on the land and tax map of the County of Nassau, and authorizing the County Executive to execute a deed and all pertinent documents in connection therewith to consummate the sale. May I have a motion? Moved by Legislator Walker, seconded by Legislator Bino. This item is before us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's Kevin Walsh from Office of Real Estate Services with Deputy County Attorney Nick Sarandis. This is a small sale, a small strip on Hicksville Road, about a 600-foot piece of property that was a tax parcel that I guess an owner didn't realize owned. The tax bill was about $45 a year. And turned out that the house had been constructed slightly on this parcel. So it has no value to the county. DPW has given us approval, Open Space Committee and Planning, to transfer it. We're transferring it for the assessed value of $2,200. And it's to a senior citizen who lives on Hicksville Road.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, did she get separate, do you get separate tax bills when you have a situation?
I think that's what happened. I'll let Nick answer. Yes.
There were two lots on the property. The house, the main house, sits on a lot. There was a second bill. We actually took the tax deed in 1984, and apparently the older occupant of the house is in the process of selling the house, and this came up.
But I guess she must have known she had two lots because she'd get two tax bills every year?
Yes. If you have two lots, you get two tax bills, and basically when I see that, and we have so many of these tax deeds that come up over the years, and all the adjoining owners come in and say, oh, I want to buy it because it now interferes with my title, whether they want to do refinancing or whatever, and generally we try to sell it for the assessed valuation because, in this case, the tax is not paid with $45. And we encourage, if we get these situations when we sell them, we encourage the homeowners to merge to lots before the planning commission, so they'd only get one bill and not have the same situation. Because believe it or not, we've had situations in the past where we sold the property to an adjoining owner, and 5 years later we take the tax bill back, we didn't merge the lot, and he stopped paying taxes, the little bill.
Wow.
So this is just to correct a situation.
Okay, very good. Yes, any legislators? Legislator Walker?
So this woman had paid the tax bills all along, but then she didn't pay the last $45? That's why you had a $45 tax, like, just tell me that part.
Yeah. Well, she paid her other tax bills are all current.
Right.
This one, she missed one payment.
Of this
back
one little
in
piece.
1984.
Oh, okay,
Or
okay.
in 82, that we took a tax deed. And once we take a tax deed on the parcel, it's no longer on the tax roll, so there's no other bill that they would be getting. And I don't even know if they were the owner at the time of this happened. I think they were, and they just bought the property or something of that nature. And that happens all the time, because they get the second tax bill and they say, oh, it must be a mistake, because they just paid my taxes.
Okay, I understand.
Are there, to your knowledge, are there a lot of little parcels like this around the county?
Dozens and dozens.
Dozens and dozens. So you just kind of wait for the property owner to
Well,
say
usually
something?
we'll get something from an adjoining owner or something, and occasionally, if it's a strip between two houses, then and it's not connected to one, we'll do a sealed bid between the two adjoining owners.
That's correct. They just want to add what often happens when, like Nick said, they go to sell or refinance, a survey's done, or by a bank, and it gets caught. It becomes an issue at that time. And I think that's what happened in this case.
Yeah.
It became a title issue at the closing.
Okay,
So
yeah.
they had to address it. And
Okay.
like I said, the lady who owns it is senior. I think
She's
children
in a
are trying,
nursing
in a
home.
nursing home, the children are trying to work on the house to get it sold.
Got it. Legislator McKevitt clearly has dealt with it a lot in his other life. Any other legislators? Any comments? No? Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any public comment on this item? There she is.
Yes, Mita J. Maraday. Since Veteran Services and Minority Affairs is always blank, just a question, and since Legislator McKevitt said there are quite a few of these, I'm just curious as to whether the seniors involved or the residents involved, because it's a sale or a purchase, have to pay those fees, like the recording fees, any of those fees that seem to be very high for residents who are trying to make a sale or a purchase of their home. So just curious. And again, for those properties that are still, I guess, on the tax rolls for the county, are we responsible for paying the taxes on those properties that we take over for these extended periods of time? But largely, I'm just concerned about whether there's an additional burden for seniors or other residents in hardship with these types of properties when they go through this purchase. Is there a waiver process or something for those fees because they're very high? Just curious. Thank you.
Legislator McKevitt?
No, the simple answer is it's conducted like any type of property transaction. Yes, those fees are high, and even though it's a very small and a very little value lot, but that's the issue with it. Again, the incentive we try to tell people is try and make sure you go and you pay those taxes, because trying to redeem it later on is much more expensive in that instance. But there are dozens. I think there are actually probably more close to hundreds to thousands of these parcels all throughout the county. And what happens with most of them is the county goes and takes back by tax deed, and they stay off the tax rolls for, again, decades at a time, and the county would rather go and have this to an adjoining homeowner and let them maintain the property and have benefit of the property. So it's our goal, but a lot of times people don't want to get these properties because there's really not much you can do with them. This property is a very thin, narrow piece of property. You couldn't build anything on it, so helps your property, but other than that, really doesn't have much other use except to an adjoining homeowner.
Thank you. Any other comments from the legislators? Okay. All those in favor of passing this item, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. There's no other business in front of this committee. May I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Legislator Walker, seconded by Legislator McKevitt. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Committee is now adjourned. Public Works is next.
this time, I'd like to call the Public Works Committee to order. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works and Parks roll call. Legislator Carrie A. Solage. Filling in for Legislator Arnold Drucker is Delia DeReggi Witten. Thank you, ma'am. Ranking Member Sheila Bino. Legislator James Kennedy. Legislator Laura Schaefer. Vice Chairman John Dufresne. And Chairman C. William Gaylor III.
Present.
Thank you, sir. We have a quorum.
Excellent. So there are three items on the agenda today, which are clerk items number 302-23, 309-23, and 310-23. Clerk item number 302-23 is an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Department of Public Works. May I have a motion? Moved by Legislator Dufresne, seconded by Legislator Bino. So the item's now before us. We have Commissioner Arnold from the administration to speak about this item.
Good afternoon, Ken Arnold, Nassau County Public Works. 302 is the annual supplemental appropriation associated with funds received from the federal government associated with planning activities for New York Metropolitan Transportation Council. These funds are used for salaries and contractual services. The department has 7 active projects that these funds will be allocated towards.
And it's $450,030?
Yes. 300 of which is for contractual services.
Gotcha. Is there any debate or discussion? Yes, ma'am.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
Ken, we're testing your memory. Do you know the 7 locations?
It's in the memo that's attached. I can.
I don't have it in front of me.
So there are progression studies that are ongoing for signals, sustainability study. Lido Beach multi-use path is one project. We have the Nassau Queens interface transportation study, shared mobility, land use. We haven't started that one yet. Land use transportation element and comprehensive plan, and we have the electrical vehicle fleet conversion, electrical charging station work that we're doing.
Any other debate or discussion? Any public comment? I heard a yep. Ms. Meriday?
Rita J. Meriday. With regard to this, I'm concerned with asking if we have or if we are pursuing funding to address the issue on the trains, particularly Long Island Railroad, the painting of these trains on the overpasses. The rust is becoming more and more apparent. I'm just concerned about the overall undergirding of these structures. So is there any type of funding that's in place for that, or any of those contractual arrangements focused on studies to address that before we have any more environmental concerns or possible derailment issues? I mean, just the stability of the trains. And it's very unsightly. I see that people are putting posters, big signage across the railroad, but you can see underneath that it's just, it looks very blighted, you know. Well, in some communities, so I can only speak for where we are. That would be my question for that one. I thought we were going to do all 3 at the same time, but since you asked me, that's my question.
I think that's a very, very great question. I know that the train station in my area is the same way. You know, they need work. I believe, though, that it's the MTA and the Long Island Railroad who actually does the inspection on those, the underpinnings and the undersides of these, bridge platforms.
Right. But Newsday just did a study, they just did a story about that, and in terms of the extensive damage because of particularly a lot of the rain, even though we didn't have a lot of snow, but a lot of the heat causes a lot of the peeling of that paint that gives you the impression that the bridge crossings are safe, but there's a problem. So just again, we just want to make sure that we spotlight that ahead of time. Now that we live in Sinkhole Alley, I would like to make sure that our train overpasses are secure. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right. All those in favor of, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. Second item on our calendar, clerk item number 309-23 is an ordinance to amend ordinance number 75-2022, adopting the capital budget for the County of Nassau for the first year of the four-year capital plan to commence on January 1st, 2023, pursuant to the provisions of Section 310 of the County Government Law of Nassau County. I have a motion moved by Legislator Schaefer, seconded by Legislator DeRigi Whitten. The item's now before us. Commissioner Arnold?
So 309 is a capital budget amendment as stated for the 2023 capital plan. This amendment adds $850,000 to capital project 52028, which is the hazardous material vehicle replacement program. The Office of the Fire Marshal is looking to replace two high-axle water vehicle rescue vehicles. The current vehicles are at the end of their useful life, so this funding is to do that. The reason for the amendment, not waiting for a new capital plan, is these vehicles have a year lead time to purchase, so we want to get ahead of that and get it done as soon as possible.
So the two existing vehicles we have will stay in service for at least another year until these new replacements.
That is our goal, to keep them in service. The challenge is that the existing vehicles are military vehicles, and they're much more complicated to manage.
What happens to those two military
They have to be
vehicles?
returned back to the military, I believe.
Do they? Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Is there any debate or discussion? Any public comment? Ms. Meriday? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. Last item on the calendar is clerk item number 310-23, which is a bond ordinance providing for a capital expenditure to finance the capital projects identified herein within the County of Nassau, and authorizing $850,000 of bonds of the County of Nassau to finance said expenditure pursuant to the local finance law of New York and the county government law of Nassau County. May I have a motion moved by Legislator Kennedy, seconded by Legislator Slosh. The item is now before us. Commissioner Arnold.
So as stated, 310 is the bond ordinance for the item we just discussed as part of the amendment. The bond ordinance will allow the department to immediately put forth a purchase order because the funding will be made available for the purchase of these two high-axle vehicles.
Any debate, discussion, public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. There being no further business in front of the committee, may I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Legislator Giuffre, seconded by Legislator Bino. All in favor? This committee is now adjourned. I heard the ayes.
Let's call the Health and Social Services Committee to order and ask the clerk to please take the roll call.
Thank you, Madam. Health and Social Service roll call. Legislator Josh Lafazan. Legislator Arnold Drucker is absent. Ranking Member Delia DeRigi Whitten. Thank you, ma'am. Legislator C. William Gaylord III. Replacing Legislator Michael G. Gregorio would be Legislator James Kennedy. Thank you. Vice Chairwoman Mazi Palip. Chairwoman Rosemary Walker.
Here.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, there is one item on the agenda today. It is clerk item 305-23, an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the health department. May I have a motion, please? By Legislator Gaylord, yes, and seconded by Legislator DeRigi Whitten.
Good afternoon. Andy Simone, Health Department. Item 305-23 is a supplemental appropriation for the bathing beach water quality monitoring a notification program in the amount of $58,350. This is a New York State Department of Health mandated, it's funded through New York State Department of Health and mandated through the New York State Sanitary Code. This program provides beach water quality monitoring at 56 permitted beaches in the county, and public notification is required of beach closures and openings.
And this is something I know you keep very busy on. I know I always thank you for your hard work all summer long, all of you, to thank you so much, because we keep you busy with, and this has been a crazy summer with the rain and everything, and so how many times you get notified that the beach were closed, so thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Any other legislators have any questions or comments? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of clerk item 305-23 signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Nothing. Then this will move on to Finance Committee. There's, oh, we do? I just looked for that. Do you have a health addendum? Thank you. Was there one over there? We have an addendum that apparently none of us have. Do you have the addendum, Delia? I'm sorry, do you have the addendum? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, then I need, do I need everything? Okay, there is one item on the addendum, which is clerk item 314-23, an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Department of Social Services. May I have a motion, please, by Legislator Kennedy, seconded by Legislator Lafrezan.
Good afternoon, Andy Persk, Office of Management and Budget. The item before you is a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $10,130,000. It's with the New York State Department of Temporary and Disability Assistance. It's going to fund two programs. One is the Safety Net program and the daycare program. We get funds in from outside agencies, state and federal. This has helped offset the increase in activity that is occurring in those two programs.
Okay, and I know we spoke a lot about this yesterday.
It's covered in yes. This is consistent with the 24 budget. There's a board transfer coming in finance that's consistent with some of the other things I discussed too, just to make everybody aware of that. So.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of clerk item 314-23 signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Then this too will move on to finance.
Thank you.
There is no other business before this committee. I may have a motion to adjourn by Legislator Gaylor and seconded by Legislator Fleet. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. We are adjourned. And Senior Affairs is next.
The roll call for Senior Affairs is as follows. Legislator Joshua Lafazan. Legislator Delia DeRigi-Witten. Delia, thank you. Ranking Member Deborah Muley. Legislator Mazi Palip. Legislator Thomas McKevitt.
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Rosemarie Walker. Here. Chairman John Giuffre. Here. We have a quorum, sir.
There's one item on the agenda today, which is clerk item number 304-23. It is an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with human services. So may I have a motion? Moved by Legislator Walker, seconded by Legislator Muley. The item is before us. Very good. So who's who's here from the administration to speak about the item?
Good afternoon, legislators. This is Seema Zaki, Fiscal Director, Department of Human Services. Item number 304-23, it's a supplemental appropriation for additional increase in the state and federal aid for the fiscal year 2023. It is being allocated to fund the nonprofit agencies' programs like nutrition, senior centers, case management, home health aides, respite caregiver programs. So it will be allocated through a contract to the nonprofit agencies. All the 1.3 million.
Thank you. That's Is there any debate or discussion? Anybody have any questions? Yes, legislator Georgie Whitten.
Hi, is this in line with what we've received in the past?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it increased at
It's
all?
an increase.
Okay,
yeah.
it is increased. Okay, thank you.
Any other legislators? Any public comment? Oh, I'm sorry, Legislator Walker, sorry.
Under the nutrition, does this cover, like some of our school districts, the entire districts get free lunch? Does that come out of this, or does that come out of somewhere else?
Yeah, this is separate. This is for the senior citizens.
Okay,
It's the congregate meals at the senior centers, home delivered meals.
Okay, so this
what it
only
takes.
deals with our seniors?
Yes, all
Okay.
all the senior centers.
But lunches we might bring to them, or?
At the senior centers, the
senior
congregate meals and the home delivered meals
Okay,
at their homes.
thank you.
Any other legislators? No. Any public comment?
Again, Mita J. Maraday. I'm all for these types of programs. I'm just curious, again, with regard to the overall reporting at the end of the year, where these programs are getting the most impact or where there may be gaps that are not being addressed, particularly when we talk about a number of senior centers that do not have this type of programming or access for its local residents. So I'm just hoping that there's someone on the committee that's addressing this. And it's nice to see that there's something on this agenda item, because again, it's very disheartening to come here and we're killing trees for a number of these committees that have yet to have any type of listing or agenda item, particularly Veteran Services, Minority Affairs, et cetera. So I'm concerned, again, that we've got funded programs that are just not getting into the communities that need them the most. And there doesn't seem to be any kind of tracking or oversight to determine, okay, this is where we are lacking, this is what we need to do about it. And we have people who are literally starving in their homes or cannot get to the noted facilities, or I should say the well-connected facilities, to get these much-needed resources. And we have a lot of residents, particularly our seniors and our veterans, and those with physical challenges, who can't get to a lot of these facilities. And again, I don't see any type of programs in place to provide them with that access. So I'm just putting it out there. Again, I'm in support of this, but again, we need to be a little bit more effective and efficient, as well as inclusive. Thank you.
John, do you mind,
Legislator.
Chair? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
sure.
Do you know of any senior center that doesn't have this program with the subsidized lunches? I mean, if you can send us a list of those, and normally the Meals on Wheels would be, affiliated with that. So all the senior centers that I've been involved with for a long time have this, even, smaller ones. So just, if you ever hear of one that doesn't have this program,
but
let
my
us
also
know.
concern is that the county is not coordinating with the town with regard to its senior facilities that, again, could be a stronger impact to reach a lot of the residents as far as access.
From the way I understand it, all the senior centers basically get their funding, a lot of them from the county. That's why they have to keep the tracking and everything, like Glen Cove, for instance, so they subsidize the lunches. Like a really good lunch is $3, so, it would normally probably cost like 8 to 10, but because of this, it subsidizes it. But if you hear of a senior center that doesn't have a program like this, you should let us know, because most of them, from what I've seen, do.
Okay.
Thanks.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other public comment, discussion, or debate? No, hearing none. All those in favor of passing this item, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the item passes unanimously. There's no other business before this committee. May I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Legislator Walker, seconded by Legislator Lafazan. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? We stand adjourned. Finance is next.
All right, can the members of finance please come to the podium? So, Mike, would you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, sir. Finance Committee roll call. Legislator Joshua Lafazan. Legislator Carrie A. Solage. Ranking Member Arnold Drucker is absent. Anybody care to take his place? Thank you, Delia. Delia DeRucci-Witten. Legislator Rosemary Walker. Here. Legislator Thomas McKevitt. Vice Chairman John Ferretti. Chairman Howard Copel.
Here, thank you.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start out with a motion to suspend the rules. A motion is made by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Lafazan. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Okay, the rules are suspended. Thank you. We'll start out with several items which are budget items. Those are number 282, which is an ordinance to adopt the Nassau County budget for the 12 months of the 24 fiscal year, beginning January 1 and ending December 31 of 24. 283, which is an ordinance fixing the tax rates and levying taxes for the 12 months of the 24 fiscal year. 284, which is a resolution to adopt a multi-year financial plan for fiscal years 24 through 27, as required by Section 310 of the County Government Law. And finally, 285, which is an ordinance to adopt the budget for the county legislature for the County of Nassau for the 12 months of 24 fiscal year beginning January 1, 24. Motion by Mr. McKevitt, seconded by Mr. Solage. Any discussion on those items? All right, thank you. If all those in favor, please say aye of those items. Any opposed? We'll do public comment. Actually, yeah, why don't you do public comment? Sure. I'm in the mood.
with regard to the first one on the budget. Just had some concerns with regard to the percentage of the property tax. Just looking at that pie chart yesterday, the property tax takes about 20% on the revenue, but the combined federal and state funding output was probably about 10, I would say. I mean, we're looking at projected close to $800 million in funding coming in from property taxes, but just under $500 million for combined state and federal funds. I think it should be flipped. I think that our federal and state funding component should be a larger percentage of what the dependence is on the property taxes. I continue to feel that it is I don't want to say failure, but it's just a disappointment that we are not increasing the outreach, or at least what we should be getting in terms of our numbers and our population in Nassau County from the state and federal government. You know, yes, we do get some grants. Most of that is kind of the general reimbursement issue. I feel we need to be a little more aggressive going into 2024. Just some other issues that I had. I agreed with Legislator DeRigi Whitten yesterday, and as well as Legislator Sheila Bino and others with regard to the ARPA and opioid outreach. Again, we have communities in crisis, and we really need to step up our efforts to distribute those resources to where they can be most effective and inclusive of providing the resources to those companion organizations that are in community groups that are working, or at least trying to work with our law enforcement officials to be more proactive in terms of where we can help the residents. As far as the litigation fund, it's a disappointment that we have to be concerned about how much money we can put into a fund to pay off on settlements when we can do a better job going in to be more, again, proactive, possibly more compassionate, more aware of the diversity and some of the adversity in our county. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront. And lastly, we talk about surpluses, and it gives us a false sense when we have such a high level of debt that we give the impression that we have monies, and a lot of that money, again, is in restricted funding that we don't really access, but we are choosing to use it to bolster our ratings down the road. So that's where I really wanted to comment. And once again, we need to do something with regard to NUMIC and to create a more positive and proactive environment for our military families and to save the public health facility. Thank you.
Sorry, all those in favor of those items? Oh, yes, sir. Go.
I just want to say we're going to tee up the proposed county budget by passing it through, but we are going to be making amendments in the future.
Noted. Okay, that having been said, all those in favor of those items, please so indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Those items are unanimous. Thank you. Now, there are a number of items which have gone through previous committees, and it has been agreed by the majority-minority that they require no further debate or discussion. I'm going to call those as a group, and those would be numbers 297, 298, 302, 303, 304, 305, 306, 309, 310, and on the addendum 314. There's a motion on that made by Ms. Walker and seconded by Mr. Lafazan. And all those in favor of those items, please so indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Those items are unanimous. Thank you. Next item is 295, which is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a grant agreement between the County of Nassau, acting on behalf of the County Department of Parks, Recreation, and the Village of Great Neck. Motion by Ms. DeRigi Whitten, seconded by Mr. Ferretti. Parks?
Hi again, Darcy Bellier, Parks Commissioner. Presenting a hotel motel tax grant agreement between the county and the Village of Great Neck. The purpose of this agreement is to cover expenses for a multicultural concert, providing family-oriented entertainment for the residents of Nassau County, presented and hosted by the Village of Great Neck. The term of this agreement is 1 year, commencing August 15, 2023, ending on August 14, 2024. The village had problems with some of the items in the vendor portal, which is why this is delayed. And the requested amount is for $20,000. Will be funded by the Hotel Motel Tax Grant Fund.
Any questions? Any debate or discussion? Public? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. Do you have any others?
Thank you. Yes, I do. I have the Village of Great Neck Plaza, 296-23.
296, okay, so 296 of 23 is a resolution for a grant agreement with County Parks and Village of Great Neck Plaza. Motion by Mr. Vakevit, seconded by Mr. Solage. Yeah, go on, please.
So this is a hotel motel tax grant agreement, again, between the county and the Village of Great Neck Plaza. The purpose of this agreement is to cover the cost of entertainment events at Firefighters Park on Grace Avenue in the Village of Great Neck Plaza. The term of the agreement is 1 year, beginning August 15, 2023, and ending August 14, 2024. The requested amount is for $5,000, and again, will be funded out of the Hotel Motel Tax Grant Fund.
So this one's late again?
Yeah, so I've been trying to, because of you, I want to delay them and make so these were May requests, and we put them all the way out to August 1st, and they just struggle with the vendor portal and some of the documentation, so.
So what can we do to fix this issue?
I have a designated person working now with vendor portal issues, and procurement's very helpful as well. So we're trying to do our best we can to get them more timely.
And what do you think? When do you figure you might have this solved?
I don't know if it'll ever be solved because it's very user-centric. We can't produce a documentation
Better.
that they need.
When do you think it might be better?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. You know, it all depends on the user and how responsive they are and when they log in. So they want the funds, but they have to do the work to get to them. And that work is the vendor portal.
That's not enough of an incentive? You don't get it done, you don't get the money?
To you and I, it might be, but yeah. It just gets delayed and it gets kicked down the road.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Walker.
And I think, I agree with you, I think some of them, the members of their organization, sometimes if they're like a historical society or another group, you know, they're not as well versed with working with technology as,
correct,
as, you know, I know certainly as I am not, you know,
right.
So oftentimes I ask my kids or my grandkids.
Right.
You know, and they're better at it than I am, so.
And oftentimes it's volunteer groups,
right.
And different members have to go through the portal, and it just takes time, so.
Right.
I'm trying to put the dates out further, so I don't have to bring them back to you retroactively.
And I know for this money, they all have to have their.
They have to have their own profile, correct.
Right, exactly. So if there's 10 of them, it's not like it's one person or two people filling it out. Every one of them has to give all their information,
correct.
So.
Go on.
Darcy, how is this going to work next year? We're going to come up with that same idea of like each legislator getting a certain amount? Or?
That's the law, yes.
Okay, and there's a backlog a little bit, right? Even the ones that
there is a backlog. There's a handful that are coming up the pike in the next month or so.
Okay, that are all set to go, but just haven't been calendared.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll start again, I guess, in January.
Starting a new year.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none. Any public comment? All those in favor of this item, please so indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? That item is unanimous.
Thank you.
301 is a transfer of appropriations. Motion by Ms. Walker, who's always ready, and seconded by Mr. Ferretti.
Andy Simone, Health Department. 30123 contains two board transfers to maximize grant funding. The first one in the amount of $31,807 is for the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant, and the second is in the amount of $2,982 for the lead prevention program. Both programs are 100% grant funded.
Okay, any questions, any public comment? All those in favor of that item, please so indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Do you have any more? No, okay then. Thank you. Number 307 is another transfer of appropriations, and that motion is by Mr. McKevitt, seconded by Mr. Ruji-Witten.
Good afternoon, legislators. Simazaki, Fiscal Director, Department of Human Services. Item number 307 is a board transfer of appropriations made within the budget for the year 2023. These are $50,000 that are being transferred. These funds are from the COVID stimulus grants. We are reallocating these funds to purchase supplies and equipment, which will be distributed to the senior centers for items, for equipment, especially like kitchen equipment, computers, recreational equipment, and supplies like medical supplies like defibrillators, thermometers.
$50,000?
Yeah, it's between $25,000 between equipment and $25,000 for supplies. We have separate grants that have expired on September 30th of this year, but we are reallocating additional funds so that we can cater to it until it expires in 2024.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion, any questions, any public comment? All those in favor, please so indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Number 311 is a resolution approving an amendment via memorandum of understanding to the collective bargaining agreement between the County of Nassau and the Nassau County Correction Officers Benevolent Association. Motion by Mr. McKevitt, seconded by Mr. Ruji-Witten. Andy?
Good afternoon, Andy Persko, Office of Management and Budget. The item 31123 before you is the one of the final unions to get an MOU together. We finally reached an agreement with the hardworking men in the correctional facility to give them a fair and equitable contract that's consistent with the patterns with the other unions. Both sides walked away not happy, but I think it's a fair deal like the other ones. I will give you some of the highlights of the deal briefly. It's an 8.5-year deal starting from January 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2026. It includes gross wage increases, or GWIs, of 2%, 2%, 2.5%, 2.5%, 3%, and 3% in the final year. It includes a stipend for a 15-year correction officer of $3,700. There will be a health insurance contribution for all members of 2.5%. There is a new salary chart for new employees. There are some operational changes that I will not get into, but they yield some savings as a result of that. We're shortening some of the vacation day and personal day accruals and some excusal time for other medical issues. We're also changing the overtime from 24 hours down to 16 hours, which benefits the union membership, and the other items that are in there pretty much cover some specialty items that the union requested that fit within the pattern. The cost of the deal, I'm going to go over it by year. In 2020, it's $1.2 million. In 2021, it's $3.5 million. In 2022, it's $6.2 million. In 2023, it's $10.2 million. In 2024, it's $12.3 million. In 25, it's $16 million. And in 2026, it's $17.4 million. Approximate cost is around $66, $67 million. So we are working with OLBR to go over the numbers, and I think we'll be heard before the full legislature. And if there's any more questions, I'm here to answer them at this point. So.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Any comment or discussion? Any public comment? Yes, Delia?
So I know we're going to have a few questions, but we'll probably pass it through, hoping that we have all the reports for, for full ledge. But something just like I noticed that the NUMIC post coverage reduction, which is only going to be one officer bringing people to NUMIC now instead of two. That's the only thing I was a little concerned about.
It's not the transportation piece. I think it's the piece that's actually in them when they reside in NUMIC. We're reducing it by one officer is what it is.
Oh, when they reside. Okay, I thought it was transportation. Okay, all right, thank you.
You got it.
Okay. Anyone else? Any comment? All those in favor, please so indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that item's unanimous. Andy, you have something else?
I have one more item, 31323.
Why don't we do that? Go on, please.
Okay. Item 31323 is a board transfer, which is consistent with my testimony yesterday. We're moving some money around in Department of Social Services and Early Intervention to cover recipient grants, emergency vendor payments. As I stated yesterday, we're starting to see an uptick in caseloads, and this is a result of what we're seeing, so we're moving some money around in the operating budget to cover some of these shortfalls that we will see in the Department of Social Services.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We didn't do a motion on that yet. So that motion on 313 is made by Ms. Walker and seconded by Ms. Durigi-Witten. And all those in favor, please so indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, that item's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. It looks like we do have another parks item, right? Number 312, which is a grant agreement between Parks and Friends of Hempstead Plains at Nassau Community College. And there's a motion by Mr. Ferretti, seconded by Mr. McKevitt. I think she left. Parks? Sorry.
I'm sorry, we're dealing with Parks complaints.
You have complaints?
Item 31223 is a hotel motel tax grant agreement between the county and the Friends of Hempstead Plains. The amount they're requesting is $25,000 to be funded by the Hotel Motel Tax Grant Fund. The funds will be used to support ongoing efforts that pertain to stewardship and education at the Hempstead Plains and Francis T. Purcell Preserve. The term of this agreement is August 1st, 2023, and will terminate on July 31st, 2024.
Right, it's the same issue again.
This one I think may have been, but it just didn't get to you. This one may have been filed in more timely fashion, but it just didn't get heard right away.
Okay, all right. Any debate or discussion, any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? That item's unanimous. Thank you. Now, the last item is 322 of 23, which is the county authorizing county executive to execute an agreement with Transdev Services for the management, operation, and maintenance of a Nassau County bus system. That motion is made by Mr. McKevitt, seconded by Ms. Walker. Now, before we get into that, I would tell the public that there's going to be a full hearing on this matter on October 23rd. We're just going to tee it up for that. I also, before we start, I'd like to have the Inspector General come up, please, if you would, and just tell us where you are on this, because I understand you're not finished with your review.
Good afternoon. So the status on this item, we're still reviewing it. We have a lot of information that we need to parse through, and we're determining what's important and what's not necessarily important. And we are planning to be prepared for the full ledge. We should have a contract review report for you at that point.
Oh, so by the time we are voting on this in the full edge, you'll be good.
Yes.
Or one way or the other, right? Okay, good.
And I'm saying we have a lot of information. I'm not suggesting that it's bad information. I'm just trying to
Understood. You're just not ready yet.
Categorize it.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
I'm sorry, Jody. So do you anticipate supplying that report the day of the full ledge, or
No, we're going to try to do it before so everybody can read it.
It's such an important.
Yes.
Thank you. For a contract of this magnitude and for the nature of the type of services that it's providing for Nassau County residents, transportation, which is very crucial, we don't have a report today?
No, we're still going through all the results. We did searches and a lot of investigation, and we have a lot of information that we need to bring to you as long as we think it's relevant and important.
All right, but I just, we have to make, as a committee, we have to, especially with the members of my caucus, we have to make a decision today. And, we need information, and because this information is not, available now.
Mr. Solage,
Yes.
We would simply have the information for the full legislature, and the full legislature will have to vote on this. So Jody did tell us that we would have all the information that we need in time for everyone to read it and make an informed decision prior to the full ledge meeting.
In the future.
Does that help you?
In the future, but for today's purposes,
For today's, we'd just be teeing it up for that. If that's,
I have a problem with teeing it up.
that's your privilege, and you can vote as your
Thank you.
conscience
Well,
tells you.
respectfully, I would like to make a motion to
By all
table this
means.
matter.
By all means, there's no debate or discussion on a motion to table. Motion is made by Mr. Lodge, seconded by Ms. Reggie Whitten. All those in favor of the motion, please so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, nay. Okay, the motion fails by a vote of 4-3.
Nevertheless, can we please?
Wait. Can you count?
3-4. But in the interest, can we please have a certain date by which we have this report?
I can speak with the staff, and then I can email everyone.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, Jody, I'm sorry. There's just a couple. If you could just make a comment in your report, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you could just analyze the future costs of this contract, like yearly, that would assist, just to let us know if you feel that's in line. I know budgetary
I'm sorry,
or not.
I actually didn't hear you.
Can you also make sure that the report includes just the reference of the cost for the future expenses? Just if you could analyze that, just make sure that you feel that it was not. I'm not asking you to analyze the finance end of it, but just to make sure that it's addressed in.
I think actually one of your staff emailed me some questions regarding that.
All right, and just before this moves on, there were a couple other issues, including we would just like to know what the dates are a little bit more ahead of time for, and this isn't pertaining to you, I'm just putting it on the record, the dates pertaining to any future meetings, because I know that sometimes we're notified like very, very last minute, and we wanted to incorporate the future expense in with the item, and I believe that was, here it is. There are 2 vacancies, and again, this doesn't pertain to you exactly, but if we could just be commented on the fact that we have 2 vacancies on the transit board that should be filled probably like soon, and also we just wanted to make sure. I know that the amendments only require that the county executive approve them, but I'd like to see any amendment to these contracts in the future be brought back to the legislature. So I don't know to what extent you can comment on that, or if there's any, but those are the things that that we really feel should be incorporated into this contract. So maybe if you have any
based
comments.
Based on the email I received from your staff, I do anticipate a meeting.
Okay, and and then maybe just your opinion on some of these requirements that we'd like to see included. Thank you.
If I may also,
By
Chair,
all means.
thank you very much, Legislator Coppell. Just, in light of the nature of this type of contract, it's a contract for, transportation services for a large portion of our county who work 9 to 5. They're not able to be here during the time of this hearing. Perhaps it's possible, just asking, is it possible that we could have a hearing in the evening regarding this? Because, again, many of the people who use these services won't be able to participate in this hearing.
So I understand what you're asking, and I suppose I'll pass your request on to the presiding officer, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you very much, Legislator Coppell. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, Ken? Thank you. Thank you, Jody.
Good afternoon, Ken Arnold, Public Works. Item 32223 is a contract to operate, manage, and maintain the county's transit system, which is the NICE bus system, as per General Municipal Law 119R and Nassau County Local Law 115/1972. Nassau County is authorized to provide a bus service. The RFP for this contract was issued in January of 22. 4 firms initially showed interest in providing a proposal. At the end, only 2 firms provided written proposals to the department. The department managed an evaluation committee that was made up of staff from the Department of Social Services, Minority Affairs, and Human Services, along with OMB and my department. The technical review committee reviewed the technical proposals. They then followed with interviews and reviewing the cost proposals. All this was done with the Office of the Inspector General's personnel present at all meetings and all discussions. At the end, TransEv was determined to be the chosen vendor for this service. This contract that's before you is for 7 years, and it has 2 extensions allowed, one for 5 years, one for 3 years. To touch on what Legislator DeRiggi asked, all amendments to this contract and the prior contract comes to this body. There's no changes to the contract without coming to this body. The contract has an operating budget for 2024 of $169 million. That was established during the budget process, and then it's being utilized as the first year of this agreement. Of that amount, we have 2 components of the budget. We have a fixed fee and we have a variable fee. The fixed fee covers administrative costs, benefits, insurance, security services, marketing, utilities, and the variable fee covers the operation and mechanic, labor, benefits, insurance for the bus operation. The bus operation is in 2 pieces. You have the paratransit and you have the larger bus fleet that does the routes throughout the county. The contract has a cap for profit at 4%, just as the prior contract did, and all contract provisions are under the FTA's review, and all buses are inspected by New York State DOT on a regular basis. The routes for the buses, just to remind everybody, and the fares are all determined by the Transit Committee, working with the MTA, because if they change fees, we work with them, and so on and so forth. So the Transit Committee still has involvement in all those aspects of this operation. Available for any questions.
Any questions?
I know we're going to have a full hearing on this, but I was just wondering if you have a copy of the new forms, like the new, if there's any type of, I was wondering, I actually heard that there might have been a couple of lawsuits against TransDev. I don't know if we have any updates on anything like that.
Any operation of this size is going to have lawsuits.
Right, I
right?
understand.
So the question is, what lawsuits are material to our operation? All right, so the department, working with our Department Chief Contracting Officer and also with Robert Cleary, the county has looked at that, and we've made the recommendation based on what we've seen. Okay. The IOG will do their review. On occasion, they bring up additional items that we're not aware of, and that will be discussed, and if required, we'll look at that adverse information and react accordingly. So that's where we are currently. Okay. But any operation, whether it's TransDev on buses or Veolia with sewer plants, these are big multinational corporations, and there's going to be a lot of information to weed through, which is why the IOG has such a task in front of her.
I completely understand. I was just, did we receive the updated disclosures from TransDev?
Yes.
Okay. And,
yes. So the department is satisfied that we've have all the disclosures filled completely. That does not mean that something does not pop up during the IOG's review.
No, I understand, Ken. I've been around this a while. I just want to put on the record that I'm glad that we have that in our possession. And the other thing, Do you know how many other responses we received to this?
One other response. We had
One
2
other.
total.
Just for the record, what was the name of the other company?
It was MV Transit.
Okay. And I guess that they're also going to discuss in, in the presentation, why we're sticking with TransDev, or?
Well, the Technical Review Committee, it's in the
Yeah.
documents that are in the package, felt that TransDev provided the best service. They have the most experience, and they have the cost and the financial ability to support the county's required bus service.
Okay, all right, so we'll, I guess we'll see on the hearing, but, okay, and we'll see what the IG's office comes up with. Thank you
Yep.
for your work on this, Ken.
Anyone else?
Can I ask one more thing? You don't have any idea if they're decreasing routes or increasing routes or anything like that?
Routes are not determined by this contract.
Right, this is just for
That's it's a very important piece everybody needs. The transit committee working with, the county budget determines what we can pay for. The transit committee will work on what routes. We work with FTA on making sure the routes are in the right areas. But this contract, it does not determine routes nor fares.
Right. So the contract this is strictly a financial affair and operational.
Yeah, this puts the service in
But
place.
where the buses go has nothing to do with this contract at all.
No. The budget of 169 keeps this current service intact.
Keeps the current service subject
Yes,
to...
but that's a budget item.
That's a budget item. Right?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Solage.
Thank you, Chair. But does this determine the type of quality of services, like the type of buses and the type of technology on these buses? We need to know what we're getting for our dollar. Already the federal government and the state government, giving lots of money to this bus company that's for profit. So we need to know what we're getting. Are we getting modern buses? Are we, some buses now have features where you could use your credit card to pay instead of having to pay for a fare. So, what type of buses are we getting?
We'll address that more in the hearing, but the buses we buy have to be approved by the FTA. So because the FTA is paying for 80% of that bus.
Understood, but are we getting a no-frills bus? Are we getting a luxury bus? Just what are we getting for our money?
I'll address that more in the hearing. Let me go back and just cross my D's and dot my on that. But there's a level of service defined in this contract, and I think that's what you're getting at, and we'll answer that question further at the hearing.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Thank you, Ken.
Yep.
Now, once again, I'll remind the public we're going to have a public hearing on this on the 23rd, subject to review of Mr. Solage's request. That being the case, any public comment on this item?
Mita J. Maraday, again, okay. I appreciate the information about the hearing, but it's the same day as the full-fledged meeting, which kind of prohibits residents, one, who don't have access to this information, and as Legislator Solage pointed out, have a hard time getting here in general at the time periods that you have these meetings, clearly, because there would be more people here. But some people would have to take 2, 3 buses, bring either their elder, their senior member, or their children, or their person with challenges. So I have concerns about that, because there have been some concerns with regard to TransDev. For the most part, if it's the best service, I'm not too sure about that. Most experienced, yes. The level of the service support, like who would be responsible for updating where the actual bus stops are? There are some communities that don't even have the signage, so that people who are in those areas don't even know where they can catch a bus if they don't have a car. There are some areas that you don't have a place to stand or sit in case they're having inclement weather. We do live in 4 seasons. So there are people who have to stand under trees in rainstorms with possible thunder strikes to wait for buses that may or may not come. There have been issues, and the gentleman Richard, who usually comes here to speak about the limitations in the routes or cancellations, and I do know that there are some residents that are on routes that have been canceled and they are now having problems in terms of trying to get to medical appointments and to jobs. So, again, having this hearing right before the full ledge, and we're looking at what, 2 weeks away. I think it provides, it's definitely a disservice to the residents to be able to question this type of scenario when you're talking about this volume of money in a 7-year contract. I mean, that's longer than some marriages. So we need to be a little bit more responsive to the needs of the community, and we need to also look at the transit committee itself. If that's their responsibility in terms of rates and fares, we need to get more assistance for our residents who are struggling in terms of the rates, as well as the accessibility to get to these buses. You know, we need to be more protective of that, as well as making sure that a safety scenario is in place to protect residents when they're on these buses. We're having a lot of issues with increased crime on these buses, as well as I said, the locations where people have to stand in inclement weather, not have notification as to where those bus stops are if they're in communities that they're not that accessible to, and a stronger position on providing more routes and accessibility for our residents, who many of whom in a larger number are not using cars. We don't have the advantage of, you know, some of us don't have, based upon those numbers yesterday of the median income of Nassau County, $136,000. I still like to know 10 people who make that, but still live here. So everybody doesn't have one car, let alone two. So I'm hoping that someone out there is listening to regarding this RFP and answering all of those questions, particularly those areas where if this company is not responsible for it, then who is, and how can we make it better for all of the residents, one, and how can we make these types of forums where residents who have questions and concerns can get those issues put on the table. Thank you.
Okay.
The routes are not, Chair, the routes are not determined by this contract, but are the actual stops determined by this contract?
My understanding is that they're not.
Okay.
But
can we get that to the Commissioner?
Ken, is that correct?
The bus stops, Transit does have input on where the stops are because of how their buses need to line up on the road and where they can pull over.
But is that part of this contract?
Well, it's an operational item that would come up. So on a route, if something needed to be changed, we would work with TransDev, and if we had to move a stop a couple blocks either direction, it'd be a collaborative effort.
So since this last time this contract was executed, excuse me, Chair, there have been significant changes in infrastructure and such. So I could imagine that there may be changes where you need to do a curb out, or you need more signage, or you need a different bus shelter. Are the bus shelters determined by this contract?
No. But that's a separate contract. We have a separate shelter contract.
Okay.
So the company that provides the benches and the shelters is a separate contract. They're always looking for locations. But remember, we're hindered by putting certain types of furniture on the right-of-way if there's not enough room for accessibility of the sidewalk.
Understood.
Right? So I can't put a bench if I don't have enough room for a bench and to have the adequate space for somebody who's accessibly challenged to get past that location.
So more likely than not, it's possible that they may need to change the number of stops, increase or decrease. So stops and therefore routes are relevant towards this good discussion.
Well, the route it runs, that's not determined by them. The stops along the route, we could be modifying them. Because a good example, I'm working with Legislator Gaylor on in Lynbrook on the 5 corners. We moved some stops around because of just traffic issues and safety concerns. But there's still that stop exists, but it was relocated in that general area.
Okay.
To make it more safe.
Understood. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Anyone else? Okay. Hearing none.
I mean, there are a number of questions. Excuse me. Sorry. There are a number of questions presented by Ms. Meriday, and one question I would like to add is, we should have a hearing also to determine whether we should have a for-profit bus company. I mean, there are people who believe that there are certain services that government provides in nature must not be private. And again, before I was elected in 2011, there was another type of contract, and some people believe that that type of contract worked better for Nassau County. So, can this hearing cover the issue as to whether or not we should have a for-profit bus company providing a service that could not be delegated?
I'm sure people will be free to bring something like that up, but I'd point out to you that an operation of this sort, if it were to be public, even if you wanted to do something like that, I would imagine it would take several years of planning. So you're going to, no matter what. I mean, even if this
was there any? My question to you, Chair, is that was there any discussion by the administration as to whether
that's not a question to me. That would be a question to the administration.
Commissioner, was there such a discussion in the procurement in this? Did you realize that this is going to cost us the county too much money? And so, well, go ahead.
There has been no recent discussion, but we were before this body when we amended the TransDev contract at the end of the last administration, speaking of extending the period for COVID, and that we were going to re-put out a new contract that we are here today to discuss. So, but since that point, no, we have not done any type of financial analysis, whether the MTA would be willing to take back the service or any other public corporation.
So
have you received calls and other sorts of communication from constituents or other individuals asking that you may reconsider whether this could be provided by under the MTA?
No.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor of this item, passing this item through, please so indicate by saying aye. Opposed? So that's four of the item and three abstentions. Okay. Okay, then there are no further items, and therefore Ms. Walker moves to adjourn. Mr. Lafazan seconds. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned, and we're back to rules.
Maybe a little bit. I'll call the Rules Committee out of recess. We have a consent agenda in terms of items that just went through other committees. We're going to call at this time. Now. Okay, 282, 23, 283, 284, 285, 295, 296, 297, 298, 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, 306, 307, 309, 310, 311, then on the addendum, 312, 313, 314, and And that is it. As I said, those items went through committees a few moments ago. No further debate or discussion is needed at this point. Any public comment on those consent items? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, motion would help. Motion by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell, seconded by Minority Leader Abrahams. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, those items carry unanimously. Next three items are 292, 293, and I'm going to call 308 with them because they are all gifts to the Nassau County Police Department. So these are on rules the first time. Is anyone here to speak about these three? Oh. Motion by Legislator Schaefer, seconded by Legislator DeRidgewitt. Okay, now you, Inspector.
Thank you. Deputy Inspector Murphy, Police Department. First item before you is 292. Purpose of this resolution is to accept the donation from the Nassau County Police Department Foundation, valued at $15,000. The foundation is offering to donate gym equipment for the use by the Nassau County Police Department Narcotics Vice Unit. This will assist the members in that unit to maintain the physical conditioning necessary for carrying out their duties. There is no funding requirement for this resolution.
Okay, you can, I think you just covered the other two when you're up there, 293 and 308.
Say 293 resolution is to accept the donation from the Nassau County Police Department Foundation again. This is for 3 police canines. The value of this it's valued at $28,500. The foundation is offering to donate 3 police canines to be utilized by the Nassau County Police Department's canine unit. This donation will augment and strengthen the county's canine unit. There's no funding requirement for this.
Well, why don't you do the third with 308 as well, and then
Yep.
I'll see if there's any
Okay.
questions.
Next resolution is 30823. Purpose is to accept the donation from the Nassau County Police Department Foundation for a 1923 Model T Ford car for display at the Nassau County Museum. The foundation is offering to donate this 1923 Model T Ford car for display in the Nassau County Police Museum. This donation will assist the Nassau County Police Department in furthering its relationship with the community, as the car will be on display at the museum and available for viewing during public events such as the annual open house. There is, again, no funding requirements.
Okay. Do we have any questions for these 3 gifts? No. Thank you, Inspector.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of those items signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, they carry unanimously. 294 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a intermunicipal agreement with the Oyster Bay Water District in relation to the transfer of radio equipment by the County of Nassau to the Oyster Bay Water District, moved by Legislator Giuffre, seconded by Legislator Schaefer.
Good afternoon, legislators. Kevin Walsh from the Office of Real Estate Services with Nick Sarandis, Deputy County Attorney. This is an intermunicipal agreement with the Town of Oyster Bay Water District to transfer certain radio equipment that was utilized on a water district tower on Schoolhouse Place that is no longer needed by the county police, but can be useful for the water district. So that is going to be transferred. Simple IMA, actually.
Okay, great. Any questions on this one? No, I think we're good.
Okay.
All in favor of this item signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. 299 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an intermunicipal agreement between the county and the County of Westchester to provide Westchester County technical assistance in developing an application that facilitates financial disclosures of municipal employees. Moved by Legislator Bino, seconded by Legislator DeRidgewitt.
Good afternoon. Joe Jacovino, Deputy Commissioner of Information Technology. 29923 is a resolution authorizing an intermunicipal agreement between Nassau County and Westchester County. Nassau County will provide Westchester County program code for an application the Nassau County IT developed that facilitates the financial disclosure requirements of the county ordinance employees. Nassau County will provide the program code at no cost to Westchester. Nassau County will provide limited support to Westchester County to assist with the installation and limited configuration support. To be clear, Nassau County is only delivering its application code. No county data will be provided to Westchester County.
So this code was developed by the county itself, county IT?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Legislator Schaefer.
And why are we giving it to them? It's just,
I think
Do they
it's
need-
more along a shared services type of environment where
Yeah.
we have it. They know what it does. They want to do something similar for their ordinance employees. So why reinvent the wheel?
okay, just curious.
Any other questions? No. All right, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All in favor of that item signify by saying aye. Those opposed, carries unanimously. 300, it's a resolution confirming the appointment by the county executive of Madeline Petrera Perrin as a judge of the District Court of the County of Nassau for the 4th Judicial District. Moved by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell, seconded by Legislator Giuffre. Any debate or discussion on this one? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, carries unanimously. Next items are on the addendum. These following items are CRPs: 315, 316, 317, 318, 319, 320, 321. These are resolutions authorizing the county executive to execute intermunicipal agreements with the Incorporated Village of Malvern, Roosevelt Public Library, Incorporated Village of Kings Point, Sanitary District 2 in the town of Hempstead, Malvern Union Free School District, and that's it. Motion by Minority Leader Abrahams, seconded by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell. Any debate or discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, carries unanimously. Last item is 322-23, an ordinance to authorize the county executive to execute an agreement between the county and TransDev Services, Inc. for the management, operation, and maintenance of a Nassau County bus system. Moved by Legislator Schaefer, seconded by Legislator Giuffre. This is before us. I would just ask that we incorporate by reference comments and testimony made at the Finance Committee, and as is indicated there, we have every intention of having a full hearing on the 23rd with respect to this item. Any debate or discussion? Any public comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Abstaining? Okay. Passes by a vote of 4 in the affirmative and 3 abstentions. Motion to adjourn, Legislator Bino, seconded by Minority Leader Abrahams. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? We're adjourned.